Hello everyone. Today we will see Chapter 7 of Science, that is reaching the age of adolescence. In this chapter we will see what is adolescence, what is puberty, and what all changes takes place during this time period. So let's start. Growth. Growing is a natural process. It begins from the day one is born, but upon crossing the age of 10 or 11, there are several changes in body which becomes noticeable. The changes taking place in the body, they are a part of growing up. They indicate that you are no longer a child but are on the way of becoming an adult. Adolescence and puberty. Adolescence. The word adolescence derives from the Latin word adolescere, which means to grow into an adult. It is the period of wider aspect of change in physical, cognitive, and social maturation between childhood and adulthood. The period of life when the body undergoes changes leading to reproductive maturity is called adolescence, and it may vary from person to person. Adolescence begins at the age of 11 and lasts up to 18 to 19 years of age. This period covers the teens, so adolescents they are also called as teenagers. In girls, adolescence may begin a year or two earlier than boys. Adolescents they develop their own moral and ethical values. They spend most of the time with their peers, and peer acceptance is very important for them. They think in a more advanced ways than in childhood, requires age appropriate sexuality education, safe and supportive environment, opportunities to take an active role in programs that will help them to grow and develop themselves. Puberty. The human body undergoes several changes during adolescence, which marks the onset of puberty. It is a short term event. Besides maturation of primary sex organs like ovaries and testes, secondary sexual characteristics also emerge. It marks the beginning of reproductive period when one becomes sexually mature, capable of reproduction. Puberty ends when an adolescent reaches reproductive maturity. Changes at puberty. Now let's see the changes. Changes in female. They can have oily skin, pimples and acne. Breast starts to develop, growing of hair under the arms, enlarged ovaries, onset of menstruation, hip bone becomes wider, growing of pubic hairs, leg muscles get bigger and stronger, and growing of hairs on legs. Changes in males. Enlarged Adam's apple, growth of beard and mustache, growing of hair under the arms and sweating, enlarged chest and also the growth of hairs, enlarged penis and testes, growing of pubic hairs, leg muscles get bigger and stronger, and growing of hair on legs. Now changes at puberty. Increase in height. There is a sudden increase in height. The long bones of arms and legs, it elongates and makes a person tall. The rate of growth varies from person to person. Some may grow very rapidly at the start of puberty and then slow down, whereas others may grow gradually. Initially, girls grow faster than boys, but by the about age of 18 years, both reach their maximum height. All parts of the body do not grow at the same rate. Sometimes the arms and legs or hands and feet of adolescents look oversized and out of proportion with the body. But soon the other parts of the body catch up and results in a proportionate body. The height of an individual is more or less similar to that of a family member. This is because height depends on the genes inherited from the parents. It is very important to eat the right kind of food during these growing years. This helps the bones, muscles, and other parts of the body get adequate nourishment for growth. Changes in body shape. In boys, the shoulder becomes broader and the chest becomes wider. The muscles of the body grow prominently, whereas in girls, the pelvic region, that is the region below the waist, widens, hip broadens, breast develop and increase in size. Voice change. At puberty, the voice box or the larynx it begins to grow. Boys develop larger voice boxes. The growing voice box it can be seen as a protruding part of the throat called as Adam's apple. Adam's apple is a cartilage structure that protects the vocal cords. So boys have a deep voice. Whereas in girls, the larynx is hardly visible because of its small size, and girls have a higher pitched voice. In adolescent boys, sometimes the muscles of the growing voice box it goes out of control and the voice becomes hoarse. That is rough and harsh voice as a result of sore throat or shouting. Increased activity of sweat and sebaceous gland. During puberty, the secretion of sweat glands and sebaceous gland, that is the oil glands, it increases, and this leads to increased sweating, often resulting in body odor. The excess oil and sweat it gets collected in the tiny pores of the skin, blocking them so that the bacteria can grow in it. And this causes the formation of pimples and acne on the face of boys and girls at this time. Development of sex organs. At puberty, male sex organs like the testes and penis develop completely. The testes begin to produce sperms, and in girls, the ovaries enlarge and eggs begin to mature. Also, ovaries start releasing mature eggs. Reaching mental age and maturity. Adolescence is a period of change in a person's way of thinking. Adolescents are more independent and are also self conscious. Intellectual development takes place and they tend to spend considerable time thinking, planning, analyzing, exchanging views and ideas with others. It is a time in one's life when the brain has the highest capacity of learning. Sometimes adolescents may feel insecure while trying to adjust to changes in the body and mind. But there is no reason to feel insecure. These changes are a natural part of growing up. Secondary sexual characters. The features which help us to distinguish the male from the female, they are called as secondary sexual characters. Hormones, they are the chemical substances secreted by endocrine glands for control and coordinating the functions of many organs of the body. These are released into the bloodstream to reach the target site, that is, to a particular body part. The production of these hormones is under the control of another hormone secreted from an endocrine gland called pituitary gland. So in the further slides, we will see what are endocrine glands. Hormones from the pituitary, it stimulates the testes and ovaries to release the testosterone, that is the male hormone, and estrogen, that is the female hormone. These hormones are directly released in the bloodstream and reach parts of the body, which stimulates changes in the body at the onset of puberty. Endocrine glands. Endocrine glands are the ductless glands of the endocrine system that secrete their products, that is the hormones, directly into the blood. Duct means having a tube-like or pipe-like structures, but here in the ductless, there is no such type of structures. They are ductless, and whatever the secretions are there, it directly goes into the blood. It refers to tissue that makes and releases hormones into the bloodstream and control the actions of other cells or organ. Example is pituitary gland, thyroid gland, adrenal gland, pancreas, ovaries, and testes. The male hormone or testosterone begins to be released by the testes at the onset of puberty. Ovaries begin to develop the female hormone or estrogen, which makes the breast develop. Milk secreting glands or mammary glands, they develop inside the breast. The production of these hormones is under the control of another hormone secreted from an endocrine gland called pituitary gland. Pituitary gland is a pea-sized gland located at the base of our brain, and it is in charge of making several essential hormones. It also makes the growth hormones, and they are also called as the master glands. Reproductive phase of life in humans. Adolescents become capable of reproduction when the testes and ovaries begin to produce gametes. The capacity for maturation and production of gametes, it lasts for a much longer time in males than in females. In females, the reproductive phase of life begins at puberty and generally lasts till the age of approximately 45 to 50 years. The ova begins to mature at the onset of puberty. One ovum, one egg matures and it is released by one of the ovary once in about 28 to 30 days. During this period, the uterus becomes thick so as to receive an egg. In case it is fertilized and begins to develop, this results in pregnancy. If the fertilization does not occur, the released egg and the thickened lining of the uterus along with its blood vessels are shut off, and this causes bleeding in women, which is called as menstruation. Menstruation occurs once in about 28 to 30 days. The first menstrual flow begins at puberty and is termed as menarche. At 45 to 50 years of age, the menstrual cycle stops. Stoppage of menstruation is termed menopause. Initially, menstrual cycle may be irregular. It takes some time to become regular. Menstrual cycle is controlled by hormones. The cycle includes the maturation of egg, its release, thickening of the uterine wall, and its breakdown if pregnancy does not occur. In case the egg is fertilized, it begins to divide and then gets embedded in the uterus for further development. How is the sex of baby determined? Whether it is boy or a girl. Inside the fertilized egg or zygote is the instruction for determining the sex of a baby. This instruction is present in the thread-like structures called chromosomes in the fertilized egg. So you can look here, it is a cell having a nucleus, and inside the nucleus some thread-like structures are there. They are called as chromosomes, which contains the information for determining the sex of the baby. The chromosomes are present inside the nucleus of every cell. All human beings, they have 23 pairs of chromosomes in the nuclei of the cells. 2 chromosomes out of these are the sex chromosomes. They are named as X and Y. So a female has XX chromosome while a man has XY chromosome. The gametes, eggs and the sperm, they have only one set of chromosomes. The unfertilized egg always has one X chromosome, but the sperms are of two kinds. Either it can be X or X and Y chromosome. When a sperm containing the X chromosome fertilizes the egg having the X chromosome, the zygote formed has two X chromosomes and it develops into a female child. If the sperm contributes to a Y chromosome and it fertilizes with the egg having the X chromosome, the zygote formed contains XY chromosomes and it results in the development of a male child. The sex chromosomes of father determine the sex of an unborn baby. The belief that mother is responsible for the sex of her baby is completely wrong, and to blame her is totally unjustified. Hormones other than the sex hormones. Pituitary gland. It is a pea-sized gland located at the base of our brain. The hormones secreted by pituitary, it stimulates the testes and ovaries to produce their hormones. Pituitary also secretes growth hormone, which is necessary for normal growth of a person. Thyroid gland, it produces the hormone called thyroxine, and deficiency of thyroxine, it causes a disease called goiter. Adrenal gland, it secretes hormones which maintains the correct salt balance in the blood. It also produces the hormone adrenaline. It helps the body to adjust the stress when one is very angry, embarrassed or worried. Pancreas, it produces the hormone insulin. Insufficient production of insulin leads to a disease called diabetes. Thyroid and adrenals secrete their hormones when they receive the orders from the pituitary through its hormones. Role of hormones in completing the life history of insects and frogs. The change from larva to adult is called as metamorphosis. Metamorphosis in insect is controlled by insect hormones. In a frog, it is controlled by thyroxine, the hormone produced by thyroid. Thyroxine production requires the presence of iodine in water. If the water in which the tadpoles are growing does not contain sufficient iodine, the tadpoles cannot become adults. Reproductive health. The physical and mental well being of an individual is regarded as an individual's health. To keep the body healthy, every human being at any age needs to have a balanced diet. Also, undertake adequate physical exercise. During adolescence, it becomes more essential as the body is growing. It is a stage of rapid growth and development. Nutritional needs of the adolescents. Balanced diet means the meals that includes the proteins, carbohydrates, fats, vitamins, minerals in a balanced proportion. Our Indian meal of roti or rice, dal and vegetables is a balanced meal. Fruits and vegetables, they also provide nourishment, so they are called as protective foods. For infants, mother's milk provide all these nourishments that they need. You can also look at the nutritional food pyramid. Iron builds blood, and iron rich food such as leafy vegetables, jaggery, meat, citrus, Indian gooseberry are good for adolescents. Cereals give energy. Milk, meat, nuts, and pulses, it provides proteins for growth. Chips and packed or tinned snacks, though very tasty, should never replace regular meals as they do not have adequate nutritional value. Personal hygiene. Everyone should have a bath at least once every day. It is more necessary for teenagers because the increased activity of sweat and sweat glands sometimes makes the body smelly. All parts of the body should be washed and cleaned every day. If cleanliness is not maintained, there are chances of catching the bacterial infection. Girls should take special care of cleanliness during the time of menstrual flow. Use of sanitary napkins or clean homemade pads. Walking and playing in fresh air keeps the body fit and healthy. All young boys and girls should take walks, exercise, and play outdoor games. Say no to drugs. Adolescence is a period of much activity in the body and mind, which is a normal part of growing up. So do not feel confused or insecure. If anybody suggests that you will get relief if you take some drugs, then just say no, unless it is prescribed by the doctor, because drugs are addictive. If you take them once, you will feel like taking them again and again. They harm the body in the long run. They ruin your health and happiness. The dangerous HIV, the dangerous virus HIV can pass on to a normal person from an infected person by sharing the syringes used for injecting the drugs. It can also be transmitted to an infant from the infected mother through her milk. The virus can also be transmitted through sexual contact with a person infected with HIV. Adolescent pregnancy. The legal age of marriage in our country is 18 years for girls and 21 years for boys. This is because the teenage mothers, they are not prepared mentally or physically for motherhood. Early marriage and motherhood causes the health problems in mother and the child. It also reduces the employment opportunities for the young woman and may cause mental agony, a high degree of emotional pain, as she is not ready for the responsibilities of motherhood. If you like this, if this video was helpful to you, then please like it, share it, and subscribe it. Thank you.